I do a lot of these things, or videos on social media, and one of the questions I always get is, what is your accent? Where are you from? If they don't know where I'm from, that's what they want to know, because I don't sound like an American, even though I live in Vermont and I have been living in America since the end of 1999. I don't sound like your typical American, or do I? Nor do I sound like somebody who is from the Netherlands, because that's where I was born, raised, and educated. When people hear me speak like the way you hear me speak right now, people believe that because I'm from the Netherlands, this is a typical Dutch accent. This is not a typical Dutch accent. You want to hear a typical Dutch accent? Listen.
But in fact, I'm a trained mathematician. And so I went to university to become a professor or whatever in mathematics. And I finished that, in fact.
I finished that, in fact. You know who this is? You may have heard of him. He's a Dutch film director by the name of Paul Verhoeven, as you might say. And he's known for, I think, the RoboCop movies, and he did a movie called Showgirls and lots of other movies. But he would speak like a typical Dutch accent, you know, where the Dutch have trouble to pronounce the TH, the. That becomes the this and that is hard for them, so they say this and that. The TH becomes a D, this and that, and let's do this and do that. And they have these typical, they use the Dutch vowels when they speak English, and this Dutch intonation as well. The Dutch language is pretty boring because it's kind of flat. Instead of the British go up and down and low and high and everything in between, and the Dutch they're usually on one range, and it's not much of a range, but it sounds boring to me. At least when I'm putting myself into the shoes of somebody who's not Dutch, and I listen to the Dutch language, and say, my gosh, this has not much of a melody to it, and the Dutch will speak English like this too. And if you believe that I speak English as a Dutch person, well, I don't, because my English is quite different. And how does that happen, I wonder? Well, first of all, I think I've always had an ear for languages, and my parents loved to take us on vacation to different European countries where I got to hear different languages. We went to Romania one year, to Austria, to Germany, to Italy. We went to Italy a lot, in fact. And when you watch Dutch television, it's all subtitled, so you get to hear the original language. Nothing is dubbed. So I got this ear for language, and I always loved the English language. I mean, the UK pronunciation, the Queen's English that kids, by the way, are taught when I was young in school. We don't learn American English. It's different now because I think a lot of the Dutch kids these days speak with more American accent than a British accent, but I was taught the Queen's English, the type of English that you would hear at the BBC. So I adopted that, and when I came to the United States at the end of 1999, I kind of sounded like this, and I don't know why I sounded like a pompous professor, somebody who was very arrogant and very posh. And I tried to fool people that way into believing that I came from England, because they thought that someone from England is normally more intelligent. And isn't it nice to be thought of as more intelligent? I don't know. But it was something that was more natural to me. So when I started becoming a voice actor, I was asked to be an imposter, pretend that I was English. So here's a part of a fairy tale that I recorded, with my then British accent. Here we go.
Once upon a time, in midwinter, when snowflakes fell from the sky like feathers, a queen sat sewing at a window with an ebony frame. Quietly, she worked on a beautiful dress she hoped to wear for the king's return. From the small village below the castle, the barking of dogs and shouts of playing children rang faintly through the air. Thin trails of smoke rose from snow-covered houses, and in the distance, a horse-drawn sleigh sped brightly jingling through the winter scene.
My goodness. I don't sound like that at all, do I? I mean, ever since I had my stroke 6 years ago, my voice started changing and my accent started changing as well. And I didn't try to sound like an Englishman as much, and I became more the way I sound now. It's this strange mishmash of all the countries I've lived in, all the languages that I have spoken, and I also speak German, I speak a little bit of French, I spoke Italian, I learned a little bit of Portuguese, so there's a little bit of everything in there. and it comes into this big, big bucket, and you mix it, and out comes this. What people now seem to think is somebody who speaks like neutral English, whatever that may be. Because neutral English, if you ask a linguist, neutral English does not exist. Nobody can teach it. It's something that is made up. But it's something that when you hear it, you can't tell where that person who's speaking neutral English is from. And that became my calling card, my sort of claim to fame, supposedly. When you listen to me, I'm not sounding like your typical American. I'm horrible, by the way, with American accents. I don't sound typically American, and I don't sound like the posh British person that I once tried to be, So people don't know where I'm from, so some think, okay, there's this European twang, maybe there's a Northern European twang, but let's call it just neutral English. And that was my biggest moneymaker as my voice acting career progressed. If you needed somebody who did not sound English, British English, or American, they often came to me and said, Paul, can you do your neutral, your European English? And so that's just how I sounded, and that's how I made my money. And till this day, I still have not found someone who's able to replicate the way I speak, which is totally fine with me. It's worked well for me, and it has really made me who I am today. And now I don't do any voiceovers anymore, but still, people, when they think of European English, a lot of people will think of me. So let me end with this. What is your calling card? What is your claim of fame? What sets you apart from the rest of the pack? Because it's very important to have that, to have something that's your unique selling feature as a voice actor. Do you have anything that makes you instantaneously recognizable? Something that is a reflection of your biography? Let me know in the comments, okay? Because I'm very interested to know what it is that makes you so special. Bye.